Hey, my name is Joe,
And I'm Mary Beth.
and this is the best of Gen X.
We are in our 40s.
And we're siblings,
We'll talk about adulting in a world so different from the one we grew up in,
so excuse us while we save a generation.
one episode at a time.
Let's go.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mary Beth.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. Coming off a good night.
We are coming off a very good night, a very successful night. You know why? Because we're winners,
Always.
and winners win. Do you want me to tell why we're winners?
I think you should.
We joined for the first time the Champions Point Trivia Night. Mom asked us to be a part of her team. You could have up to 5 people. And we had no idea what we were getting into. We didn't know if it was just general trivia. Assumed so. And we pregame it at my house. We do a little pre-slaughter sippy.
As I called it,
Yes, that was very creative, actually.
Thank you.
I wish I came up with that.
it was a pre-slaughter sippy.
We sound like we've been sipping.
I know, right?
But they had a cool buffet. It
I
was-
may be hungover.
Yeah. You get a slight headache. They had a buffet, which I thought was good. I think you thought it was kind of,
I thought it was like skating rink food.
yeah, which I like.
It was okay. I wasn't there for the food. I was there for the winning.
Yeah, we were there to dominate. And dominate we did. There was probably, 8 or so teams-ish.
Yes.
They had about 6 rounds of questions, 5 questions apiece each round.
Our team name was,
The Hadron Super Colliders.
yes,
And for those of you that are fans of The Big Bang Theory, that's from the show.
yes,
And we had the coolest name.
by far.
We were a little loud. I think we embarrassed Mom just a little bit.
Yeah, because by the time we got into it, all of us were still tipsy, and I guess Mom wasn't. And so she was kind of like getting annoyed at how loud we were.
And she was the scribe, so she was like writing down.
She was writing down the answers
the official
for
team
us.
answers, and she was mortified at how loud we were.
But we just were excited about all the winning.
Yeah, because that's what we set to go do, and that's what we did, and we did it in dominating fashion.
I think it was the pregame. I
Yeah.
think what did it, because we got nice and sauced up,
Yeah, we threw our inhibitions to the wind, and we just
and we showed up ready to win it.
we kicked ace.
And we won a
$25 gift certificate to Texas Roadhouse. Just $25, not each. So we're going to split that 5 ways.
We're going to go out and get an appetizer.
Right. We're going to go out and get a Diet Coke.
And we got a big old bottle of Humidor.
Yes, Humidor, which I gave to you, right?
Yes.
Good.
So that was fun.
Yeah, that
I mean,
was
it was
really fun. And we got done early enough. You know, it was like 7:30 when we got done.
felt like midnight to me.
Well, to
I was
you.
just going to say it was a lot to get me out. But y'all got me out and we had a good time.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad you made it out. That was really fun. I'm glad you and Josh both made it out.
What else do you have going on this week?
Basketball is winding down, so starting tonight we have our sectional draw. And if people aren't familiar, that's where the coaches and the players get together, and the governing body of the high school, sports association, which Mary Beth is very much into.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They basically stream the sectional draw, and they have all the different classes, like Class 1A, 2A, and they have the brackets, and it's where you figure out who you play in the postseason tournament.
You lost me at brackets.
Okay. Well, hey, you asked what I had going on, so that's what I have going on. Everybody else that enjoys sports ball or any type of sports activity would get it, but we'll find out later tonight around 7 o'clock who we play for sectional.
Right on, right on.
Yep, so we get to hang out with the players at the hospitality room and eat some cluckers or whatever. But then after that, my son, my oldest child, he just turned 20 on Friday. And because I had a game on Friday night and he had something going on yesterday, we're going to link up after that and have a little birthday dinner.
You know, here's something that I don't think we've talked about on our show yet. This is an interesting family tidbit. So you and I and our sister, we all got pregnant with our first child at the same time. We did not plan this. This was not some weird incestual orgy.
Correct. And you are correct. I got pregnant. You included me in that. Thank
Well,
you.
that's what you're supposed to say. We are pregnant.
No, I'm just teasing.
So,
Yeah, we found out, and then
yeah,
Jennifer actually.
I found out first.
No, you're right. I had it flip flopped. You found out first, so we thought Mallory was going to be next.
Mallory was
Due next
before Seth. Seth was born a month premature.
Early. But they were all, like, to your point, it was like within 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, so it was fun. In some ways, it was fun to go through the pregnancy together, all three of us. Mm-hmm. In other ways, not so fun, because I gained weight in my eyelash. Like, let me just say, every possible symptom you could have, I had. While my sister-in-law and sister had pretty pleasant pregnancies. I wanted to throw myself down a flight of stairs from the beginning. I was so miserable and nauseous and bleh. And then I had raging heartburn because Mallory was born with a full head of hair. It was just a miserable experience. I hated not being able to keep my pants up. You really need like suspenders as a pregnant woman because you lose your hips basically, so your pants don't stay up.
Right.
So it was just awful. And also, I gained weight in my eyelashes, like from head to toe. I stopped counting, I think, at like 60 pounds. And my sister and sister-in-law just gained their little baby bumps. And I was
I remember
huge.
I remember you complaining about that. All the way down to your feet.
Yep.
It's like...
I had Fred Flintstone feet. I was so swollen.
Yeah, you looked like if you were like allergic to peanuts and somebody served you a tray of peanut butter sandwiches and they were like, oh, by the way, do you want to wash it down with this peanut butter pie? And this granola bar with peanuts in it?
You're not wrong.
I mean, that's what you yeah.
So, long story short, the birthdays go like this. Bryson on February 21st.
Seth on March 21st. And Mallory on March 30th.
Mallory on March 31st.
31st. Yeah, I always say 30th.
Yeah, but she was due in April, so she was 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
And he was a month early, so...
Yeah, they all end in ones. I don't know why I said that 30th, but...
Makes it easy to remember.
I still love Mallory for the snack table idea and the mini fridge idea in here. That was all her idea.
You know, good for her.
She was so proud of herself.
Well, she's a fun person.
She goes, oh, I know. And it was just the most amazing.
She thinks rather outside the box, which I appreciate.
Does. And then, what else you got on? I see that you have your Scranton, PA Schrute Farms t-shirt. Tell us about it.
I could not decide. So as everyone knows, hey, our indie listeners are the second in our city ranking, and it's not even close. So whoever is listening to us in Indy, we love you.
And we'll be there.
And we will be there soon. So I couldn't decide. Y'all know we're going to meet Dwight Schrute at Comic-Con coming up, and I couldn't decide between 3 different shirts. So I ordered them all. And today I'm sporting one of them, Schrute Farms.
The Battle of Schrute Farms, you say?
Has a nice beat in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then I got my Dwight Schrute t-shirt in the mail finally that I'm going to wear on the 15th of March when we go there for the Saturday Day Pass trip.
Here's what I knew from the beginning based on what the website said. It talked about how, I mean, all the way up to the event itself, the celebrity list can change. It's already changed quite a bit.
It has.
Change it has, and I am freaking out a little bit. Y'all, I'd love to hear what you think, but this is my brother's plan. We learn that Alice and Jasper and Dr. Carlisle Cullen are all going to be there, and you can spend a pretty penny to get a group photo with all 3. I thought we should order our photo op. Joe says, on the other hand, we don't know if our photo op times are going to conflict because they haven't
announced the schedule.
They haven't announced the schedule yet. So it's possible we could be waiting in line for Rainn Wilson while the other one is going on.
I didn't want us to spend the whatever it was. It was
right.
It was like at least it was almost 3 times as much, but there was 3 of them.
It's $290 for a group photo.
$295, right?
I think it's $290 for a group photo.
You're wrong, but okay.
And we have not gone into this, but one day we will. Twilight is my life. I am the OG Twilight mom. So the fact that this is happening makes me just giddy with idiocy. Like I'm already I can already picture myself babbling incoherently. I can see myself going up to Jasper and being like, "Oh, for this picture, will you pretend to bite me?" So I'm really counting on my brother and sister to keep my geek in check.
When you asked me what we should do and gave me a choice, I'm like, I can't mess this up because this means like everything to this woman. So I'm like, I got to be smart about this answer.
Well, I think your idea is very sound. You say, wait till we get there. We'll find out what the times are. If they don't conflict, we'll buy our ticket
because I read the website and they said you can pay on site. So we can pay the day of when we're there. And what are the odds that they'll both be at the same time?
Well, it is my life, so
it is your
pretty
life.
Good.
That's true. That is true. Good call. So anyway, I don't even know if we've told everybody that Jennifer's going. Like she has.
Oh yeah, our sister's going with us.
I'm so excited. So we got her. Her daughter isn't playing in a club tournament that weekend.
I know her weekends are just booked.
Yeah.
All
so
year.
We booked her on her off day.
So we got her off day, literally her off day.
Yeah. So
and she's
excited.
coming with us.
And day trip.
I'm just so excited.
Hey, we're going to Comic-Con of all things.
I know.
Hey, nerd alert.
Nerd alert. If you had ever told me, younger me, that I'd be going with my brother and sister to a Comic-Con event, I would have laughed at you.
Right, me the same. And I would have got beat up if I would have said that.
But now I understand that nerds are amazing, as we are amazing.
It's going to be so fun. I mean,
can't
just
wait.
Us three just being goofy with no rules. Hey, no parents. We're going to have so much fun.
We are.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? I felt the need to share this, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I feel like people our age we're just getting to a point where we're hopefully well established for ourselves, and it takes a while before you own that house that has the master bedroom big enough to accommodate a king size bed. Mm-hmm. And we're all there. I just got my first king size bed. Josh and I went out on a limb. I've been wanting one for a while. And we ordered a Nectar bed. Now, if you've seen it, like they're all over TikTok.
Never heard of it.
Well, it actually did make one of the Forbes lists in the recent, like last year, I guess. It made the Forbes list for like best hybrid, mattresses. And because, it's one of those things where it's a mattress. You kind of have to be at the mattress store and you kind of have to feel it out. However, that's why it was a risk. But it did make the list for best value. Because you had everybody on the list, like, this has the best this has the best that. This one was listed as the best value, and it really was. So we got a bundle, which came with the mattress, the adjustable base, because I'll never, ever go without one again, and the headboard. And it also came with complimentary pillows and sheets and a mattress protector. So we put that together last weekend, and I have to say, so far, so good.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've had really great sleep, and the bed goes on forever and ever.
You have a bed that's inspired by Tickety Talk. I'm not on the Tickety Talks. I've never heard of Nectar.
Well,
good for you.
The assembly is definitely not as easy as they make it look. However, well worth it, and we've had great night's sleep so far, and it's vacuum, like air sealed.
Oh, cool.
So you have to let the mattress like breathe and fluff out for like 24 hours and before you start using it. And yeah, so far I can only report good things.
That's good. Good for you. I'm happy for you.
But I'm 46 and I finally have a king size bed.
It's all right.
Everybody, get you one.
That's all right. It all starts somewhere. You got one now. Live the rest of your life with one. I actually knew that story because I helped remove the old bed into the garage.
Yeah, because even the queen adjustable base, those things are heavy.
Yeah, it was crazy heavy.
But
it had like the electrical stuff. And
once you have one, you'll never go back.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad you like it.
I love it. And I have something else even more exciting to share. I don't want to like monopolize our, time here, but.
Yeah, but you're going to. Go ahead.
But I'm going to.
Okay.
Well, it's been a long wait. I gifted myself for Christmas an Ancestry DNA kit. I've gifted it to mom and dad in the past for Christmas. They always have great deals. Josh has done it. And I finally got one for myself. And you spit in this little container, you seal it up.
Gross.
You send it off, and you get updates like the lab has received
That's how they do that?
That's how they do it. And so they give you these, updates. We've received your DNA. We will start working on it in our lab. And then you get one a couple weeks later saying, we are processing your DNA.
Oh, my gosh.
So I got my DNA back. Joe, I can't quite express how much joy it gives me to tell you and the world I'm Scottish.
Scottish.
I am 52% Scottish. I am so happy about that.
I kinda know how you feel. I'm so proud.
So now I have a terrible Scottish accent. I need to work on
Yeah,
it.
mine's not very good either. I always just do the fat bastard from Austin Powers.
I'm very excited about getting in touch with my heritage. I want to trace our DNA, our ancestry, all the way back to the motherland. I want to know what we did there. Were we Highlanders?
We had to be.
Now listen.
We're winners.
Right. And we're a little rebellious, so we were probably part of the Jacobin group.
That's true. That's true. We can talk back a little.
We can. We can start some shit.
Yeah.
It's just funny because we grew up our whole lives believing we were probably mostly Irish because of our dad's mom.
Yeah.
But it turns out from our mom's side, from our maternal grandpa, we are Scottish. We are trying to encourage Joe here to get on his DNA because Jen's already done it. And she is a measly, laughable, embarrassing 44% Scottish. I'm 52.
It's weird how you guys can be so different in terms of the percentage of it when
I
you're
know.
from the same people.
I think it has something. I think mom and dad were playing Scottish music when they were conceiving me. I think that's how it goes.
Oh, speaking of, let me grab my bagpipes real quick. Right here. That's awesome.
I'm so excited
I'm so
about
excited
it.
to do it now that I know I have to spit in a bag or whatever it is.
It's a little tube.
Okay.
And you spit in it up to the line that it has on there.
And they send you a letter and they say, we found your DNA in a 1986 murder case.
Right.
Unsolved cold case.
That is the only risk, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
If you have
have some
anything,
skeletons in those
your
closets, you might get caught.
So we encourage you before we plan this Europe trip, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes me even more excited about our adventures to come.
Yeah, for sure.
Because now I will have a true tie to this place we'll be visiting. And I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled for you.
And henceforth, we've talked about how my family, they call me Bet.
Mm-hmm.
From now on, I identify as Bonnie Bet. Thank you very much.
Bonnie, oh yeah, because the Scott. Okay,
Yes.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So I'll call you that. Actually, I'm gonna change my phone when I text you later. I'm gonna
Bonnie Bet?
Bonnie Bet.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I say I can't. I can't do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I love you. It's like that old Mike Myers Scottish skit that remember he had that Scottish store, and every time somebody walked in, it would play the bagpipes.
I'll have to work. I
love
really have to work on that. I'm pretty good with accents, but that one is tough for me.
He's just a baby. Okay.
Speaking of traveling, Josh and I have an appointment to get our
That's
passports.
right. So you're getting on it.
We're getting on it.
Good. Okay. Speaking of passports, because I had mentioned mine and I've posted it on social before. I am so excited, Mary Beth, because, and I know I've expressed this, but I was thinking about this the other day. It's almost like I woke myself up in a deep sleep thinking about it. I was so excited. First of all, I still can't believe I have one. I can't believe I own one.
Yes.
Like I look at my little office drawer, I'm like, wow, that's my passport book. It's like the craziest feeling.
Yeah.
And I always joked, I said, you can go to bed one night, not only being able to travel within the United States, and then the very next day when you get that book, you're like, I can go anywhere in the world.
Which is what we all think about.
It's the it was the craziest feeling. But it almost like equates to that feeling that you had as a young teenager when you got your license.
Absolutely.
I had this overwhelming sense of independence and freedom.
When you had that in your hand,
It felt almost just like when I got my driver's license.
It felt like you could go anywhere, do anything you wanted. I mean, even if you had strict parents, you still had that sense of freedom. And that was
Right.
our first, like, the first hurdle to independence and adulthood.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget what that felt
Yeah.
like.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, the whole passport thing takes me back.
It made me feel just like the day I got my license. And, getting your driver's license on your 16th birthday has long been, as we know, a rite of passage for, baby boomers and us Gen Xers. A license was the key to freedom and independence, and it represented an important step towards adulthood. Of course, at that time, getting a driver's license was relatively easy. You had to pass a knowledge test, the practice, all the basics with a parent or an instructor, particularly if the parent approach resulted in one too many arguments. And then, you would take the road test as many times as you needed, in fact.
Right.
Schools mostly taught the actual driving part of driver's ed, and private driver training programs weren't even really a blip on the horizon back then. But then you fast forward 30 years, and it's a whole new landscape for young drivers in many ways.
Very different.
Driver education courses are crammed with new material about issues we never really thought about, like, distraction, drug impairment, stunt driving, and fatigue even. I hear that. These graduated driver licensing programs, they have a multitude of requirements, and they involve 2 or 3 different levels to progress, through over a specific period of time. And some programs also include an advanced exit test. So the overall process is just different. So the whole rite of passage thing is a bit subdued now. Kids attach way more importance to their smartphones. If you can text your friends or FaceTime them, maybe seeing them in person just isn't such a big deal anymore. Even so, the world has changed a lot since many of us first began to drive, and the driver's license continues to be a critical feature of, like we said, independence and freedom. It provides better access to educational and employment opportunities. It exposes young people to new environments and new ways of living. And in light of the tremendous barriers that are currently facing young people when it comes to, things like post-secondary debt, the cost of housing, and the sheer cost of living, it's more important than ever that young people learn to drive.
Amen.
But I tell you, I felt like a young 16-year-old Joe getting that passport. I was like, I can just go.
Yeah.
I can just go, man.
And I haven't had that feeling since I got my license, I don't think.
I don't think I have either, actually.
Maybe when I turned 21, but by that point, we've all already been drinking, so.
Yeah, true. But only for a short time.
Sure.
Sorry.
But yeah, I remember what a big deal it was, and I remember how fun it used to be to drive. My earliest driving lessons, and I think you'll relate to this, and I'm curious as to how many people our age can relate to this. We couldn't have possibly been the only ones who were like 6, 7, 8 years old, sitting on our dad's lap, driving the car through town.
5.
Okay. So my earliest driving lessons were either in the car with Dad or with Grandpa Fred or with Uncle Roy. Anytime they let us sit on their lap and control the steering wheel, I felt so powerful.
I did too. And all I was doing was holding the wheel.
Yeah.
But they did all the rest, but I felt like I was moving it.
And when they let us take a turn, it just felt so fun.
Yeah. I was like, I can do this. I was 5. I was like, I can do this. Just give me my license right now.
The closest thing to that, I guess I always felt excited if we were ever in an arcade and you sit in one of those booths and you have the wheel and you play the little video game with the wheel.
Right.
Leading up to driving, or bumper cars. Anytime you went to an amusement park,
yep.
The bumper cars made you feel like, oh, I can't wait till I can really drive.
Or which one was it? What was the amusement park where you had the old timer cars that were on that little track?
Oh, yeah.
Those were super fun.
Yeah, I think Holiday World had
God,
those.
I love crap like that.
Yes. So any I guess setting where we could pretend drive was just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But those are my earliest memories of driving.
Yeah, same.
Sometimes a golf cart when I got a little older.
That's a good call because Dad would take me golfing when I was 5, 6 years old,
Yeah.
and I always got to drive the golf cart. And of course, he'd get pissed at me if I went the wrong way. If I was supposed to stay on the golf cart, he would yank the wheel. I'm like, okay. And then of course I want to, cower and.
Right, and of course we grew up in the generation where parents would yell and cuss at you if you made a mistake rather than be, oh, it's okay.
Right, yeah. There was no coddling. Hey, there was no coddling. It was like, let's make him feel like shit in front of everyone.
But didn't it inspire you or motivate you to like never mess up?
It was way effective. I promise you I didn't drive that golf cart or steer it in that direction at the same time.
Yeah,
or the
I'm
same
not
way
saying
again.
this to like piss on our parents.
No. It was actually effective.
It was effective, and you would probably agree to this. We've kind of failed in that department where like we're supposed to be patient and understanding when the kids make us. No, it's not as effective at all. So good on you, Mom and Dad.
Well done. Because I was bad about giving my kid lovins.
Yeah. I just remember we couldn't wait. We counted down the days.
Oh, it was every day.
Such a big deal.
I mean, leading up to it, it was like for 6 months leading up to me getting my license, it was like every single day I was like, when is it? Is it coming? Like what? I just could not.
You mentioned that it was part of the school curriculum. Now help me remember this. My memory tells me that driver's ed was sort of built into our PE health class curriculum.
Yes.
But I couldn't remember if that was the case, or if maybe our school corporation just forced this on our PE and health teachers. I can't remember if it was part of the health education.
I think it was part of the health education because we had PE the one semester, and then I remember specifically the book part. I remember Mr. Chanley teaching it.
Yes.
And he taught health. But I remember there was a specific curriculum that he taught in the book because we got tested on it. And if you made, this is what I remember. If we made a C or below, you had to take a computer test at the branch when you went to get your license. If you got, which is kind of funny if you think about it. If you got better than a C in the class, you didn't have to take the computer part when you went to get your license.
I think that sounds plausible.
Oh, it happened.
But it can't possibly be true because I still had to take the written portion, and I got an A in all my classes.
Oh,
so
I just remember that. So maybe they changed it.
Maybe they changed it
because I'm a couple years younger.
I do remember having to take the test on the computer when I got there. I do remember though that if you did well that summer in the driving part, because that was also part of the curriculum, so you signed up for summertime driver's ed where any of your other teachers would have been your instructor.
Yep.
And you and two other students would get into a driver's ed car and just have your little adventure. And I still remember mine. I remember that if you got like a certain score during that portion of it, you didn't have to take the driving part at the license branch to get your license. So, because I never had to take a driving part.
Okay. That's the part I'm missing. So it was, if you got a C or below in that class, you had to take the driving part when you went to get your license. You had to drive.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it was. Everybody had to take the computer thing.
Yeah, everybody had to take the
good
written
call.
part.
I'm glad you kept me honest on that. I knew it was something like that. But anyway.
I still remember the students that...
I remember the two people in my car.
Yeah.
I remember my teacher. Who did you have? I had Sprinkle, Mr. Sprinkle.
I had Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, good one.
Mr.
That's a good one.
Mr. Thomas. Those who went to Silver Creek will remember fondly Mr. Thomas. He was the history teacher,
Basketball coach, and just a funny character, and would prefer to spend class telling stories than teaching. Yeah, in world history, I had him, and we had a test, and everybody's heads were down. He walked by me. Now, granted, I was still on the basketball team at the time. He walked through. He did these little walkabouts.
Yes, he did during test time.
And he walked through the row, and he tapped his fingers on my desk, and I looked up, and he pointed at the question that I had written down. He goes,
right.
And he started shaking his head, and he walked off.
The way I remember it, it was more like a.
He shook his head at me and went like that.
He would shake his head. He would grunt. He would snort. He would make a sound.
And then he walked away, and I was like, okay.
He would let you know without saying it
like,
that you got the wrong answer and you need to rethink it.
So I erased that and put a different answer
So
down.
we say this to make a point that he was a fun guy.
Yeah. Had to be fun for the driver.
It was fun for us. He would make us drive to like the country roads, and he'd take us. I remember one time he took us to this like hole in the wall ice cream parlor. We stopped and got ice cream. Just fun.
My instructor was all about the fast food places. He was kind of a bigger guy, a kind of a little heftier guy. And we'd always either go to like a Wendy's or a McDonald's or an Arby's. I'll never forget that. And I remember the two girls that I had in my car. They were girls that you know really well. And
I had two boys, two very cute boys.
Oh, well.
But because I was one of the youngest in my class, they were a grade below me.
Right.
So I was taking driver's ed with all my...
Yeah. And one of mine was a grade above me, and she was the same scenario.
Gotcha, yeah.
Jesse.
So I was a young one in my class, so I was taking driver's ed that summer with people a grade below me.
Yeah.
Which is a little embarrassing, but can't help how old you are.
Yeah, you're an August baby. So do you remember the kind of car you guys drove? I do. I
don't
even remember the color.
I remember I want to say the color was a light blue, but I don't remember the make.
Yeah,
It was a four-door Corolla type.
Ours was a Ford Contour, and it was almost the color of your shirt. It was almost like a champagne-ish, pinkish kind of hue to it.
I like the way you describe that, like a pink champagne.
Yeah, and you remember they had the brake system on the passenger side?
Yeah.
So did you ever have that used on you? I had it once.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'm coming out of the forestry, the main entrance to the forestry, and it's a big highway right there. And I look one direction, and I don't look the other one. And I guess the direction I didn't look, a car was coming, and I was inching out, and Sprinkle slammed on it. He goes, "Whoa, whoa!" He's like, "You gotta pay attention." I was like, "Oh, sorry." That was the first time and only time I've ever had that.
One thing I don't remember, and could have been the teacher. I don't remember him taking us out on the expressway. I don't remember learning to merge.
Well, it's funny. It's so funny you said that.
I remember just like small town driving.
Because that was going to be my next comment. Was that I vividly remember my first time doing that was we were at a Wendy's about 30 minutes away in Corden, and one of the girls had driven us there, and it was my turn to drive after. And he goes, "All right, Joe, we're going to drive back on the expressway." And that was the first time I had ever gotten on the expressway, and so I remember how nervous I felt. It's so funny to think about that now as a mid-40s, guy. Like, it's second nature now. You just get on the expressway and you don't think twice. You're doing three other things in your mind. And,
right.
But that day, I had never done that before. I'd never gotten off a ramp and gotten and merged, like you said, with all these other cars. And I remember how nervous I felt. Like, don't screw this up, Joe. Like,
I remember being in the back seat of our big old Buick growing up. Anytime we had to go to, the mall or the store with Mom, I remember being young enough to not really understand why we swayed from one lane to another. It just, it felt very rhythmic to me, and it felt like it was something you just are supposed to do. Didn't understand why, but I knew that every couple of minutes, we'd sway to the next lane.
That's so funny.
And then I remember learning to drive and understanding what that was all about. But it just felt so rhythmic and soothing. I guess,
but without intent, it kind of just seemed
right.
like it was
This would be the part where Mom and Dad reminds everyone. Every time Mary Beth got in the car, she fell asleep. It never failed.
Is that right?
Always.
That's so cool that you remember stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like little simple things like that.
Yeah.
I do remember one thing he did say when I very first merged onto that expressway. I remember to this day what he taught me and told me. So it did stick with me. I'll give him kudos. I guess I wasn't going fast enough because I was still nervous. So I'm going on this ramp about ready to merge. I'm only going like 40. I was only going like 45 or 50. And he goes, "You better speed up.
You better step on it."
Yeah, he goes, "You better speed up." And I go, "Really?" Like, I was like, I didn't think I was supposed to like speed up. And he goes, he goes, "It's dangerous if you don't. When you're merging and getting on with all these other vehicles, you have to at least be going kind of the same speed,
Yeah, I do not remember learning that.
Yeah,
I'm sure we did.
I thought it was cool that kind of stuck with me,
Our different experiences in driver's ed makes me think of a couple of movies. Every Gen Xer will remember these movies. License to Drive is one of them, with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
Oh, yeah. The two Coreys.
The two Coreys, and I think Heather Graham, I think that was one of her first movies.
Yes, that's correct.
But, the movie was okay. I don't remember being crazy about it, but something about it always stuck with me. And it was because this was long before we could drive. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know what it was like to go to the license branch and be tested on all of this stuff. So it stuck with me because it was equal parts scary and hilarious. So I think it's Corey Haim's character has a sister who's the same age. I guess they're twins in the movie. And so it's showing his driving test versus hers. So he has an instructor who is very intimidating, very large in stature, no nonsense, by the book, got his clipboard out, puts a cup of hot coffee on the dashboard, and with no lid. And he said, now I love my coffee. And he's just telling him how important his coffee is and basically says, if anything spills on me, you fail. So he's got all this pressure. She, on the other hand, is, I wish off the top of my head I could remember the name of this song, but it's that very famous riff. Da, 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 da.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you hear this music in the background, right? In contrast to the chaos of the other scenes. So they keep cutting away to his and hers.
Yeah.
She has this, smiles, and there's a sparkle in his teeth because he looks like a
Very good.
he looks like a Ken doll.
Yeah.
Very attractive, and taking her through these quiet neighborhoods, no traffic, parallel park when the cars are so far apart, and everything she does, he's going, very good. Very, very good. And so she's having this really pleasant
Amazing experience.
So just our different experiences remind me of that montage of just cutting back and forth. That's a memorable movie. The excitement of getting one's license and the fear that Hollywood instilled in us about what it was like. It also makes me think of Clueless, because poor Cher Horowitz.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
She had quite a time.
Right.
It's hilarious because she's a terrible driver and she's got this white Jeep and she has this instructor. She's like, you can't be the end-all be-all of driver's licenses. And young lady, as far as you're concerned, I am the messiah of the DMV.
Yeah.
And she bumps into something. She goes, should I leave them a note?
Oops, my bad. We got Marky Mark to sell. What do you say? To plant a celebrity tree.
To plant a celebrity tree.
Paul
She goes,
Rudd.
Marky Mark taking time out from his busy pants dropping schedule. Why don't you just hire a gardener? So
Good call.
Cher has a really hard time getting her license. So those two movies really stick out in my memory when it comes to getting your license and what that whole experience is like.
It impacted me because I had to do the driving part because I goofed around on the school part.
Right.
So I had to do the actual driving part.
Sucks
Now,
to be you.
Yeah, now I obviously knew how to drive at that point from the permit and stuff, but you think about those situations or those movies that you saw or those shows, and you're like, I was terrified because I didn't know who I was going to drive with. So you never knew. I just never knew.
Yeah, Jen had an instructor too, and he took her through a parking lot, and he was, from what I recall, he was quite unfair to her. It's almost like he was trying to trick her into screwing
really?
up. Yeah, because he made her drive through a parking lot, and he was telling her, go here. And then he took points off, took a lot of points deducted because she drove across the lanes in an empty parking lot.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. We'll have to ask her about that because I remember that I thought it was very unfair because he's basically saying, go here. And when you're a young driver and you don't know, and there's no one in the parking lot, you're just going to drive to where he tells you to drive, right? Instead of going through the lanes. Anyway.
Well, listen, in 20 days, we're going to Indianapolis with her. That should be a car time story.
Yes. She'll have to refresh our memory on that.
Yeah, mine was pretty simple. They had me drive through the town that we lived in. I just drove through the town, a few streets, and had to parallel park. I do remember that. Which I'm not even going to get into this, but parallel parking as part of that stuff is ridiculous. Think about how many times since you've been 16, how many times have you parallel parked?
Not many, and I'll tell you why I relate. It's like algebra. When you go, when am I ever going to need this?
You never...
Parallel parking? You know what? Here's what you do. If you have to parallel park, you move on.
Yeah.
And you look for a parking garage.
Right, exactly. And we don't even live in a place that is conducive to having to parallel park.
When we do traverse the busy streets down to downtown Louisville, if parallel parking is the only option, you just find another place to park.
Yeah. Or go to the garage. Whatever. It's so stupid. I think it's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, I've not really needed
especially
to parallel
and
park.
now they have back navigation almost every vehicle, so it's just whatever. I think that was so stupid. I even thought that was stupid back then, but I did it. I actually did it really well.
I can't help but wonder how the whole process is going to change when self-driving cars are the norm. What is the licensing process going to be like? When those are mainstream,
Yeah. Do you remember the day you actually got? Well, let's stay on permits, okay? Because I have a funny permit story.
Okay.
So we got our permit. It was such a cool day when you finished your summer course and the teacher gave you that little square sheet of paper and was like, go to the license branch, whatever, and got your permit. Mm-hmm. That felt really, really cool because I was like, yeah, I can't drive by myself, but I can drive on the main road legally with my dad and our mom, whatever. And Dad had that big Buick. So Dad was gone one day. And he must have driven the other car, and the Buick was home.
Yeah, and it may as well have been a bus. That thing was
huge.
Huge.
It was fun to drive, though.
I didn't like driving it.
He called it the sled.
Yes, the sled.
So for some reason, the Buick was home, like without anybody there or something.
What'd you do?
Well, maybe Mom and Dad drove together in the other car that we had. But the Buick was in the garage, and Jennifer's boyfriend at the time, she was dating this guy, and he wanted to go play golf at the local golf course. And I was like, I'll drive. And he goes, are you allowed to do that? I go, yeah, I got my permit. But he was like young. So we got Mom and Dad's car and he was in the passenger seat. And so I don't technically think he was supposed to be in the passenger seat when I drove.
You naughty boy.
But I drove to the golf course and then to make it worse, I did it again by myself.
You are, what a renegade you are. What a rebel.
They must have been out of town or something, but that was with my permit.
You were always doing stuff like that.
Yeah. But I mean, I was like, oh, it's only like 3 miles away. What could happen?
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Famous last words. Hey, that's a perfect place to break. We have some fun and not so fun stories to share about our driving experiences when we get back.
Okay.
Get ready.
Hey, listeners. Do you like judging people as much as we do?
Then judge us.
To submit your criticisms and complaints about our show, you can reach us at gotohell@bazinga.biz.
For all other comments, questions, or suggestions about future episodes, drop us a line. Send us a text from our website at thebestofgenx.buzzsprout.com and click on the link just above the show notes.
Or email us at thebestofgenx@gmail.com.
And we're back.
We are back.
This is our second go at this.
Giving away our trade secrets.
Well, I think I need to start giving jazz hands when I press record so that Joe knows.
I looked down for like a half a second, and you were like, hey, we're back. I looked up, I go, oh, we're really on?
And then he sneezed.
And then I sneezed.
So.
Now everybody's going to not know that we're not one hit, like one takes.
That's why we can never go live.
Jeez. That'd actually make it kind of funny, I think.
It probably would. But we have to give a shout out first.
Yeah, special shout out.
We got an email from a dear character in our family's history. Guy by the name of Don Hayes.
Don Hayes.
Lifelong friend of our dad's.
Yep. High school buddy.
They reconnected recently after how many years?
Like 35 or 6 years, something crazy.
So he lives out in California near Dodger Stadium.
Dad said like you can almost see it right outside of his front door. So
Dad and their other best friend went out there and visited recently. He told him about our podcast, and so we kind of assumed he'd been listening. And he sent us an email this past week.
It was very
kind. It was great. It was so great to hear from him. What I thought was cute, though, is at the beginning you could tell he was trying to identify himself so that we'd remember who he was, as if
we hadn't heard 10,000 stories.
Well, we remember him from childhood because he was around quite a bit.
I remember him and Dad played golf with him.
Yeah, and I wish that we could describe him. He was like a cool, slick Magnum PI kind of.
Yeah, but the Japanese American version
of it. Yeah,
yeah, he was super cool.
Super cool guy. Just fun personality, fun character, and always called our dad Lead.
You don't say lead.
And anyway, so he's describing, who he is and how he relates to our family. And I'm like, I emailed him back immediately and was like, you are unforgettable, sir.
I haven't seen that guy since I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I still remember how he talked.
I still remember how he sounded, how he looked.
Yeah.
But it was just great. It was nice of him to reach out and to tell us that he'd been listening and said that he enjoys, especially hearing anytime we talk about Mom and Dad. He was actually there the day Mom and Dad
I was going to say,
met.
I think there's a connection there with Mom and Dad, meeting and stuff. And him.
Big time, because like the moment they met, and he did hint around that he wasn't quite as quick as Dad because he would have gone in for her
for
number.
the kill. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's a big part of my parents' history together, and so they had a lot of crazy stories to share.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's a bigger part of our life than he even realized.
Right, and so speaking of driving, in that email, he says, "Oh, and it is true, by the way, that story about driving. I think they drove a Mustang backwards from school to home.
Yeah, like it wouldn't go forward, so they drove it in reverse the entire way to school.
So he's he and Dad share some fun shenanigans.
Oh yeah.
So we just wanted to say shout out to Don Hayes. Thanks for reaching out, buddy, and we hope you listen and enjoy the show.
I hope to talk to him soon.
Absolutely,
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. All right, so let's talk about our first car, shall we?
We shall. Ooh, mine was a Beta.
Mine was a 1988 Ford Festiva. Don't even know if they make those anymore.
Don't think so.
They look like, those sort of classic red and yellow kid toy cars?
Yes.
Yes. That's how a Festiva...
Like the little Tykes or whatever it's called? Yes.
That's how this thing was shaped. A little triangle on wheels. Dad always said if
it was black, little stick shift.
It was a stick shift, and most of my cars, can I just say, were stick shifts. I'm very sad that this is they've phased out the stick shift because I love those. I prefer those to this day. I hate that you can't really find them, or I think that you can't. It's been a long time since I shopped for a car.
No, I mean, they certainly have manuals.
They still make them?
Stick shifts?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was way on its way out.
Bryson's driving a stick shift right now.
Well,
It's a 2015.
Oh, cool.
But you know who taught me how to drive a stick shift, or who tried to the first time?
Who?
Kim Green.
Really? Another California girl.
I know.
Kimmy.
In the Faith Church parking lot.
Oh, that's funny.
Remember that little light blue Escort she had?
Yes. In fact, I was going to tell a story about that. I believe it was the day she got her license. She was in a car accident.
Oh,
a fender bender. The day she got her license.
Kimberly.
I know. She doesn't listen to the show, I don't think, so...
Well, she's on my Instagram, so
we're not embarrassing her.
Yeah, I might have to advertise that
if
she's
you
on
are
this.
listening, Kimmy,
we
apologize.
Hey, she's on my Instagram, so I'm going to send her a link.
Okay.
And be like, you're on this episode, by the way.
Okay,
FYI.
I believe it was out by the town. It was like a really busy intersection for our town. And it was right where the ice cream place is.
Yes.
So it was pretty...
Oh, and I miss her laugh. She had the best laugh. So if she does listen to that and hears it and laughs, we don't get to hear her laugh.
Kim, we remember. And the reason...
Kim, record your laugh.
And send it to us.
Yeah.
We are about a month apart in age, and so she got her license first, and we were all excited. And then, boom, she has a wreck that day, and we couldn't, do out and do anything.
Oh, my gosh. Thanks, Kim.
Glad she was okay,
yeah.
But...
yeah, for sure.
Anyway. But mine was a Ford Festiva, bought it from Joanna, our cousin Joanna, may she rest in peace. $400, I think Mom and Dad paid.
What a deal.
Or maybe it was $800.
Either way.
But I think I helped pay for half, because I worked at the ice cream place I just mentioned.
Yes, you did.
It was a stick shift. Her husband, Chris, taught me how to drive a stick.
Okay.
And I totaled that car 1 week before my senior year.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is a really big deal around these parts. I don't know how they do it in fancy cities, but in our small town school, when you were a senior, you got to park in the senior parking lot. I don't know if that's like a nationwide thing.
I don't know. I don't know.
I've heard of other schools, they do a thing now where you can paint your spot.
Yeah.
Which is neat. But it was a big deal to
park. You call it neat, I call it something else.
I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, you wait your whole entire high school career to park in the senior lot.
Get to park in
I was 1 week shy, but I survived. I guess.
Loser.
Can I just tell briefly about that wreck?
Sure.
So I worked on weekends at this. Another thing around these parts, we have what you call wineries.
Orchard and
wineries, where you go and pick your pumpkins and pick your apples, and then stop at the restaurant for some fresh cider.
Yeah, and some fried biscuits.
And fried biscuits and apple butter. And that's where I worked as a waitress. Now, this place from our home, we're talking about long, windy
hilly
hills, back
knobs.
roads in the knobs. So if you if you strayed on that road, you're going down a cliff.
Yeah, it was like of the mountainous variety of roads.
And so on the way home at night, when no one's on the road, you're talking about backwoods, you're a new driver and you're an idiot, like I was. So I was driving way too fast.
Right.
And one thing that Dad always impressed upon me when he was trying to teach me how to drive was you never want to go so fast that you get yourself into a situation you cannot get out of. And boy, was he right. However,
Wise.
I didn't heed his words until it was too late. I was going way too fast. So I come up over a hill, and I go airborne. That's how fast I was going. And so by the time I landed, I was so freaked out at going airborne that when I landed, I just jerked my wheel to the right in an effort to sort of get grounded or to correct something. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that made it worse. So I literally, in my car, thank God I had my seatbelt on or I would not be here telling this story. Mm-hmm. My seatbelt kept me strapped.
Is that right?
Yes, I did not move from that seat. No air came between my ass and the seat. There's something happens when you're in a car because your seatbelt always feels loose and comfortable. Mm-hmm. Something happens when your car's in distress. It just knows that seatbelt has to tighten to your body. And I tumbled. I turned over, I think 4 times, landed upside down in a ravine, a grassy ravine.
I remember the picture of it.
And as I was rolling down the hill, a car was driving up the hill in the opposite direction. Thought that the man who came out of his car and got me out, because there was earth on both sides of the driver's side and passenger doors. Mm-hmm. So he had to pry with his strength to get the door open because it was just grass. And so the only injury I suffered was unbuckling my seatbelt because I was upside down and I hit my head on the sunroof. So I just fell out of my seat. And so I crawled out and he said, "Oh my God." He said, "I thought for sure I was going to open the car to a car full of dead teenagers."
Oh my Lord.
And it was so frightening. I was screaming the whole time, bracing myself for death. I missed a tree by just a couple feet. I still, anytime we go there about once a year to get some pumpkins. It's still a nice place to go. But every time we pass that road,
I'm telling you, that road was tricky because when you went over that hill, the way the road was...
The road...
On the top of the hill looked like it was going to go straight, but the road goes left.
Yes, exactly.
I remember that
That's
road.
why I think I overcorrected, because I knew that whenever I landed, that road was going to be further to the left than you're used to.
I remember Mom and Dad getting that phone call because I was sitting on their bedroom floor. We were talking about something.
Very scary.
I remember, I remember the frantic nature of Mom.
And so the car was totaled.
Yeah, I mean, other than
however, was not.
Hey, other than when you pissed me off, I was really glad you made it.
Yeah.
now it's been 30 plus years. I really would. It's kind of, we can joke about it now, but it's been 30 plus years. Like when you went over that hill and got airborne for the first time, I really would have kind of liked to see your facial expression.
Oh.
It probably had to be something.
It was an oh shit face.
Movie-esque.
Well, whatever you look like right before you die, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, my first car was a 1988 as well, Plymouth Horizon. I mean, what a piece of shit.
Wasn't this the light blue car?
No, that was the Nissan Pulsar.
Oh, yeah, you went through a few cars.
Yeah, I paid for most of them, by the way. But the Plymouth Horizon was $500, and Dad, in his wisdom, tried to get me to save up to. He goes, just try to save up $1,500 or $70. You'll get you something better, because back then $1,500 that would give you a pretty decent car.
Right.
And I was so impatient. That's the money that I had. I literally paid every cent that I owned. I was like, no, I want a car now. I want it now.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, because I was about ready to get my license, and I had to have one the day I got it. And I got the biggest piece of ish you have ever seen in your life. My friends made fun of it. It had cigarette burns on the dashboard that I hid with like a decal sticker on the inside, on the interior dashboard. The transmission was slipping like within 4 months. We raced it in the field. Like we tried to go off-roading in it. I mean, we just...
Excellent.
Just stupid. We Fred Flintstone it, me and a buddy, Michael, called, Mike, Big Mike. Mm-hmm. we kind of Flintstoned it from our house to the McDonald's because we were starving. Nobody was home. And so my brakes were like, I basically had no brakes, no transmission. And I would drive like 10 miles an hour from our subdivision to McDonald's, and I would put it in low one as I got close to the stop sign.
So it wouldn't die.
We let the parking bump at the McDonald's stop my car, and then I shut it off, and we started laughing.
Never have I had such a craving so important that I would risk.
Yeah, I think we literally spent $1.50 at McDonald's. It was worth it, though. That car was such a piece of crap, but had to have it.
I had a pretty good car. I do have one of those commercial moments where you open up the garage door and there's a brand new car with a huge bow on it.
Was that the red one?
That was the red Chevy Cavalier. 2-door, stick shift. Man, I love that car.
And you let me drive that to my prom.
Yes, I did.
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
I think that was my junior year.
That was a gift. So I went away to college my freshman year. But we had just had the fire. I was still very traumatized by that.
That's why they gave you the new car.
No, well, they gave me the new car when I decided after first semester that I wanted to come home. And
I'm just messing with you. That was a cool car, though.
It was a great car. I was very ashamed. You feel a lot of shame when you go away to school and you come home back to your small town as if I couldn't hack it. I just think that I chose that school. It wasn't a good fit for me.
Yeah.
I chose that school for all the wrong reasons.
Right, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So
I was stoked when you came back.
Yeah. So, but I eventually did finish out my last year and a half of school at Bloomington. So I did go away to a much better fit for me. IU was. And so when I came home, Mom and Dad knew that I would need a car to, go to work, go to school. But I cleaned the house. I was the cleaning lady. And so she basically fired her cleaning lady and said, I'll just, make this car payment.
Right.
And you clean the house in exchange for cleaning the house.
For your slave services.
Right. And so I had no idea until we pulled in the driveway after that drive and from
yeah,
school.
that was a cool little stick shift.
That was a cool moment.
It had a clicking sound. You remember that?
Yeah.
The stick thing. It was a different looking one.
Yeah.
And it had a little clicking noise when you stick.
That's the closest I think I've ever come to feeling like a spoiled brat.
Right on.
Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I had...
That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I had 3 or 4 stick shifts growing up, but I didn't really have my first brand new car that I paid for until I was 21. But the rest of them were little $1,500 cars, stuff that were like hand-me-downs from people we knew or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... But my first ticket, did you ever have a ticket?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my first ticket was when I was 16. I drove our grandfather's blue Ranger to a fight. Hey,
Can we sound more hillbilly in this episode?
Let me set the stage. We were hanging out at the McDonald's, all of us.
This was just before cow tipping that night. Right?
Exactly. Or outhouse tipping. We were at the local McDonald's and somebody ran in there and they were like, so-and-so's getting a fight at this local, neighboring school. So we had to scarf down our food, and me and Ronnie got into the truck and I'm going down the highway on this back highway, 85 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness.
On a 55. And of course the first car I pass is county sheriff, and he turns around and he comes up to my window, and Ronnie's sitting there. He's like, just be cool. And I'm freaking out. I'm shaking. And the guy was like, why are you going so fast? And I was like, oh, I'm about ready to miss curfew. And he goes, without looking at the clock, what time is your curfew? And I was like, I had no idea what time it was. I had no clue. And I was like, So he got me. And I got a really expensive ticket, and I felt bad. So because Grandpa let me use his truck. So I felt it on me to go to our grandfather and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I got a ticket in your truck, because I wanted him to trust me.
Yeah.
And he was like, you did? He was like, well, you're paying for it. I was like, I know. So I paid for it.
Yeah, unlike my friends, I never got a warning.
Oh.
Never got a warning.
I rarely did too.
I always got tickets. My first ticket was in the Festiva on the way to, I think, cheerleading practice maybe. And, in a school zone and you're late for practice.
Oh, it's over.
You're not driving 20 miles an hour. I was driving 50 miles an hour. And he pulled me over right before the school. And here's the thing. I was nervous, shaking. You're getting your stuff out of your glove box. And he said, know how fast you're going. Why are you in such a hurry? And I was like, oh, I've got to get to practice. And he was like, well, You want to make it to practice? You want to be wrapped around that tree right there? And I kind of laughed. I didn't laugh. I went like this because I was nervous. And I didn't. How are you supposed to? Like, what am I supposed to say to that? And then he goes, "You think it's funny?"
Oh, you knew you were cooked after that.
Yeah, and that's when I got the $85 ticket.
Oh yeah,
I was like, "You dick."
Yeah, you were cooked.
Yeah, I was clearly nervous. Mm-hmm. Whatever.
He took advantage of your nervousness.
He did, as if I was really laughing at
of your naivete.
Whatever. But I think my most amusing story has to do with the license branch. Now I was so curious this morning. I had to look up, when did the DMV become the BMV?
Oh, that's a good call.
Now here's what I
still call it DMV.
Okay, here's what I didn't know. I thought at a certain point they just changed what they called it. No, it's just in Indiana and Ohio. Did you know that?
The BMV?
The part? BMV.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because in movies growing up, it was the DMV.
Right. We always knew the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Right. It's the Bureau of Motor Vehicles in Indiana and Ohio. So here I am in my Indiana bubble thinking that it is shifted nationwide, right? And I was like, when did that happen? Right. So I find that out, and I'm like, as if they needed another reason to be the dumbest agency on earth. So regardless, if you call it the DMV where you are or the BMV, no matter what you call it, it is among the most poorly run of all government agencies. The damn stinking license branch.
Yeah, it's an awful experience. I've never had a good experience there, ever.
You know, it's slow, for one thing.
You never have everything you need.
It's all red tape.
Yeah.
Even if you call in advance. I used to call in advance. Anytime I had to go there for something, I would call in advance to find out exactly what I needed. And even then, you'd be turned away.
Well, do you have your TC 195-2 form? Well, no, I don't have.
Well, no, I don't have that. Well, I called, and this is what they told me that I would need. Well, no, you need this.
So you had everything but that. I've had that so many times.
And even if you showed up with everything you needed, the poor people in front of you and behind you would be turned away, and you just felt for them. Like, yeah, just suck. So it's not only slow, it's not only all this red tape, but it is run by a bunch of powerless people who project their feelings of powerlessness onto the rest of society. It is run entirely by secretaries who run the school. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay. Now, this is nothing against secretaries. I'm just drawing an analogy here about, you know, those jobs where you have absolutely no power. You're surrounded by people who have the credentials that you're probably perfectly capable of getting yourself, but you just didn't. But you run the ship.
And you know it.
And you know it. And you make everyone else know it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can think of 4 women off the top of my head from my teaching career who fit this description. Secretaries of some kind who, for whatever reason, felt powerless in their own lives. They had to make sure that all the teachers, all the faculty, all the administration were scared to death of them. Like, don't cross this lady, don't piss her off, because she had to get your attendance, damn it.
Right, damn it.
And just like, yeah.
Leave me alone, damn it.
Those are the people who occupy the BMV.
100%.
Power fucking trip by powerless fucking people.
100%.
Okay? So this is all a prelude to my story. About a year, I was married. It was about a year before I got pregnant with Mal. It was over Christmas break. I, at the time, was teaching theater. I was constantly going to the school off hours to drop off something for a play or whatever. I had just done Steel Magnolias, or I was in the process of directing Steel Magnolias. I had a carload of beauty supply, beauty shop stuff that I pulled up to the school, pulled right up to the double doors of our theater storage room. Okay? Saturday morning, empty parking lot, no joke. I leave my car door open because I'm literally going from my car 10 feet away to the double doors, inside the double doors, and putting these things on a shelf and walking right back out. Somehow, in those moments that I was in the building, my purse gets taken out of my car.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, this is right after Christmas. So you're talking about all my gift cards, my cash, back when I used to carry cash, and of course, my ID. Right? And a brand new purse, by the way, which was really cute. And I got it to use it for like a day. I looked around the parking lot looking for a skateboarding kid. Look, nothing. No runners, no walkers, no kids, nothing. I have to this day, am angry.
That is amazing.
I walked into the bank because obviously my debit card was stolen. I was already starting to tear up because there was a line, and no one was paying attention to me, and no one was hurrying, and I knew that someone had my debit card and was spending all my money at that moment. And I finally said, "Can somebody please help me?"
Oh my gosh, you're that woman.
Because I had just been robbed. So that was it.
You should have just walked in and been, hello everyone, I've just been robbed.
I've been robbed. Yeah. So someone took me into the little cubicle and got me taken care of, whatever. So they canceled my card, whatever. But the real nightmare had only just begun. As you all know,
We've only just begun.
we told the story about how our house burned down. You think, how can this be in any way related? Because you're married by now. This is years later.
Yeah, get over it, Mary Beth.
You got robbed, so you don't have a license. Well, because we had a house fire years before, I had a little trouble getting my driver's license renewed.
Oh, good grief.
So,
Why didn't I know about this?
you probably did. You just ignored me at the time. I made several attempts over the next couple of weeks to get issued a new driver's license. I don't know how it would work today. You would think, everything being on computers, you could just walk into the license branch and say, "I was robbed. Can you print me off another license?" But no. That would be far too easy and far too efficient. Shout out to Doge, by the way.
Yeah.
Because there are far too many agencies operating like this bullshit.
Yeah.
So at that time, you needed a certain number of documents to get a driver's license. I wasn't walking in with a driver's license and saying, "Hey, it's expired. I need a new one." No, this was different. I was walking in with no identification, saying, "I need a license." So I needed all forms of ID that I didn't have. Social security card. That got burned up in a fire. Sorry. Try again.
Birth certificate.
Birth certificate. That got burned up in a fire. Try again.
You don't exist.
Passport. That got burned up in the house fire years ago. Try again. I had no way to prove I was who I was. So listen, I go back several times. I try my yearbook.
Oh my goodness.
Grown woman walking in there with a high school yearbook. I'm like, see, that's my picture. That's my name.
Oh my God.
See this newspaper clipping from my senior year? I was homecoming queen. I was in the newspaper. That's me. That's my name.
Nice little plug there.
No, but I was in the paper.
Hey everybody, let's stop and pause. Let's give her a round of applause. She was homecoming queen.
I believe I told this story, and I believe I said I was a pity vote
continue.
because my house had just burned down. People felt sorry for me.
Okay, continue.
So I had newspaper clippings and photo from the yearbook.
That is a nightmare.
Okay.
And a half.
Oh, but you say, well, just get yourself a new copy of your birth certificate. I would, but I'd have to cross an ocean. You know why? Because I was born out of the country. Because they're like, oh, no. Just call down to the county health department. They'll print you off a new one. Oh, no, they won't.
Yeah.
Not if you're born in Manila, Philippines. So I'm like, everything that I had that you are requiring of me is now turned to ash. And now I have no proof of who I am. And you won't accept anything that I'm giving you as illegitimate. So, and I can't just call the county health department for a copy of my fucking birth certificate, you hag.
So what did you do?
So in my final conversation with the license branch, before I completely gave up on them, I kept telling my story and getting transferred and telling it again and getting transferred. And finally, the woman is saying, well, they require this and they won't let us do this. And I finally go, who is they? You keep referring to this they. May I speak to they?
You did not say it like
that. I did. Now, listen. This is either the best part of the story or the worst part, depending on your sense of humor. She didn't know. She couldn't tell me who they was. So I was like, who makes your rule? Who's your boss of this branch? No, of all the branches in all of the state of Indiana.
and all of the land.
I was like, who is they? And may I speak with they? And she couldn't tell me. So here's what I did. I called the police department. I said, I need you to know that I'm currently breaking the law. I've been driving without a license for some time now. Here are the steps I've taken to get another license.
And I can't reach they.
And I can't reach the authorities who will give me a fucking driver's license.
Oh my God.
Because I was born out of the country. Our house burned down. I have no way to prove who I am. I'm breaking your law and I desperately want to not be.
What did they do?
So he was like, well, why don't you get in touch with the, I think he told me to get in touch with the governor's office.
Oh, my Lord.
And I ultimately ended up writing a letter to the governor of Indiana.
Yeah. What was the Supreme Court decision, Mary Beth? Was it 5-4?
So what I ended up having to do was go through the governor's office. That's how I was able to obtain a new copy, which I now still have, of my birth certificate that says I was born in Manila, Philippines on an Air Force base that no longer exists. That was another thing. Not only did my original copy burn in the fire, but the Air Force base I was born was shut down by Bill Clinton, and his first week in office, he shut it down. So
Maybe it's like Google it. Oh, wait.
I couldn't call Clark Air Force Base and say, can you send me a copy of my birth certificate?
Oh, my God.
So I ultimately went through the governor's office, wrote him a letter, and ended up getting a copy of my birth certificate and finally got my license. But I tell this story because if we're going to talk about driving and getting your license, we've got to talk about what a bunch of dumb fuckery goes on at every license branch. And since my kids have gone through the system, I can attest, I can promise you all, it's still dumb fuckery today. So good luck to you.
It's a bunch of malarkey.
Let's talk about our kids.
Do you have any anxiety or stress with your kids since they've gotten their license? I mean, does it cause you to have
did.
that?
I did at the beginning.
I did too. I don't so much anymore, but I did. It was bad.
Every time she walks out that door, I say, be careful.
That's
and I love you.
That's how Dad was. Be careful. Be careful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm scared, but because she's not the best driver, I'm not the best driver. I worry. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. I don't worry as much with my daughter.
Your son has quite the record.
He has quite the record, but he's grown up a little bit. He had a little accident. I'll call it a little accident.
We'll call it little.
But he's doing good now, and that was scary. That was definitely one of the scariest times I've ever had as a parent. But I'll tell you what's really crazy that I've noticed talking to them, or just going through the experience with them when they turn 50. So we talked about getting our permit and going through driver's ed. Both of my kids, so the way they do it now is on your 15th birthday, you can drive your kid to the license branch, and without them having any formal driving training through a private program. So they've not even, let's just say they've not been behind a wheel of a car officially on a road. They can go in there and take a computer test, and they can leave there behind the wheel with you there and go and drive home.
Right.
To me, that's amazingly dumb and ass backwards.
Seems a little bit.
You would think you'd have to go through the actual driving training, get your permit, and say, yeah, you've met the criteria, you've driven so many hours, here's your permit.
I knew because I taught at the school system. I knew when it was time for Mallory to go through that process, and then her stepbrother before her, a year before her. I knew that we didn't offer driver's ed anymore. I was not prepared for what was in store for us. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's not affiliated with the school anymore.
It's all privatized.
And I don't know if it's just in our state or our locale, but we had to go through this local driver's academy. Mm-hmm. I had to have a separate email folder for all this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Just to keep it straight.
Super expensive.
Super expensive, super confusing. Mm-hmm. They had 12 weeks to complete this online course, which both of them did like the day before the deadline.
Right. Yeah, mine same.
I looked through the material to try to help them study. The test has become absurdly hard.
Really?
Both of ours failed multiple times, and I felt so bad because, of course, Mal gets herself all fixed up for her license picture, and by the time she actually got her license, she was like,
F
it, no makeup, hair down, T-shirt."
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to be disappointed again. But it's very hard.
Yeah.
And both of them were going through it right on the edge of COVID.
Oh,
so
yeah,
as
true.
if the license branch couldn't be any more
No, you're right.
fucking convenient.
Because that was 2021.
They had a rigid schedule of appointments. And so every time they failed and we had to schedule another appointment, they'd have to wait another week until there was an opening. And
Oh, wow.
BS.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. This talk of the license branch has gotten me very salty.
I could tell. Like your neck's getting red.
Very salty.
But I still to this day cannot believe that my kids looked me straight in the eye and with a dead serious look, with no formal training, no behind the wheel training, they looked at me and said, "Dad, I can go on my 15th birthday and go get my permit and drive home." I said, "How?" And they said, "Oh, as long as you've signed up for driver's ed." I go, "Now tell me how that makes sense."
Yes.
So because you've like clicked a button or checked a box that you've signed up for something.
Because mom and dad have sent a check.
Yeah, that you can go to the license branch and drive us home.
Yeah.
Like that to me, I just thought that was unbelievably weird.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed.
Yeah.
And
the process is much more involved.
Yeah, the process is more involved. And I think now it's like different in terms of, in our time, it was 16 a month and a day. So like, for example, my birthday's January 13th. I got my license on February 14th. And now it's like...
And we had it all calculated.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I remember what I wore the day I got my license. Like, that's how excited I was.
Me too.
Kids today do not give a rip.
Same.
Or they wait until they're 18 or whatever.
This is a trend I noticed, and it was so
They don't want
puzzling. It was so puzzling to me. In my early days of teaching, so we're talking like early 2000s, several of my students who were like juniors and seniors, 17 and 18 years old, still didn't have their licenses. And I'd be like, why?
I don't think they cared.
And they didn't care. They didn't want it. They were in no hurry. I didn't understand it then. I don't know.
That whatsoever. I mean, I was like staring at the calendar every day.
Oh, you're marking the days off.
It's crazy. Crazy. I can't think about that. But like I even coached a kid that is playing at Purdue right now, and I think he just got his license. And he's been at Purdue for like 3 or 4 years.
See? And that has to be, we don't have time to go into it now, but that has to be tied into somehow the overall delayed adulthood that this culture.
For sure.
I mean, being on your insurance until they're 26 and, you know.
So anyway, I mean, like, long story short, ours was 16th a month and a day. And I think now it's like if you've taken driver's ed or if you've completed it, it's 16 in 3 months. If you haven't completed it, it's 16 in 6 months. So even that's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, and then there's like some restrictions. Like when you first get your license, it's like the people that are in your car have to be over the age of 18 for the first 3 months of it, and then or 6 months if you didn't do driver's ed or something like that. So they have to.
What a nightmare, dude! Yeah. What a nightmare it was.
So there's restrictions even when you get it now.
Us as parents, since we thought that the right thing to do, the nurturing, for their emotional well-being, we thought the right thing to do was everything the opposite that our parents did. Mm-hmm. So we failed as parents. So by the time they're driving, we can't keep track of who's in their car. Mm-hmm. And it's a constant battle every time the kid got in the car. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be with you? You cannot have a kid. You can only drive with them.
My car was like a clown car. There was like 10 people like my age in it.
God, I know. Like that. So trying to follow that law was just a nightmare.
It's hard to police.
It's hard to police because we were such bad parents. So it's like, just please do what we say.
Yeah, right. Honor system. That's funny.
So I hated that.
Yeah.
I feel like I know I've changed as a driver. Like my feelings about driving in general have changed.
Oh, I'm complete flip of the script.
I
hate to drive. I drove 1,000 miles, I bet, the first week I got my license. And now I hate to drive to the store. I want to jump off a bridge if I have to go drive 2 miles to the store.
Exactly. I didn't mind, running errands for mom and dad when we got our
I
license.
loved
It was
it.
like, tell me where to
Do
go.
you need to get this? I can go get it.
Now, mom did start
Always.
to abuse it at one point. I did get a little tired. I've got something to take back to Dillard's. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to, come on.
No, but you're right. I loved it.
I did. Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I would start asking, do you need anything at the store? Stuff like that.
But now I will move heaven and earth to avoid driving. But I'm always down to be the passenger side driver.
1,000%. I love that. Makes you feel important too.
I can't help it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
If I don't try to control everything and everyone around me, something catastrophic will happen.
You want to be chauffeur just like I do.
Because Josh drives for a living, and so his driving record must remain clean. Mm-hmm. Therefore, he's a very conscientious driver. I think he's slow as fuck. So I'm just like, can you please... Funny story. We were actually pulling in as a family our annual trip to get a pumpkin and have lunch at Huber's. We're in the Huber's parking lot. It's crowded. I'm getting nervous. All kinds of people everywhere. It's hard to find a spot. And I'm like, oh, go here. Wait. And I couldn't hear myself being such a douche. And finally, Josh slams on the brakes and he goes, oh my God, get out. And we all just busted out laughing. I still LOL when I think of that memory.
So funny.
Because that's one of the things that I think makes us such a great couple is that, what you don't hear and see in yourself, the other one has a way of keeping in check that doesn't make you want to kill them. So I laugh so damn hard. He leaves me in, I get out of the car, I'm laughing, the kids are laughing, he drives off, I'm still laughing, because I just couldn't hear myself.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's like, oh my God, get out.
That's amazing. I love that story.
Yeah. It's good times. Good times.
Get out.
He put me in my place as I deserve to be, but I hate driving. I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it now too.
And, speaking of movies earlier, I remember the fear and the excitement and the anxiety from License to Drive and Clueless. But now at this age, I think of movies like Driving Miss Daisy. I want to be Miss Daisy. I want a driver.
Yeah.
I want a driver to amuse me and tell me fun stories. And now, I have not seen that movie in many years.
It's been 30 years probably.
So forgive me if I'm making light of some heavy hitting issues.
Yeah.
Issues. But I'd love to have a driver to just hang out with, just keep me company, drive me around. Because I just hate it. Yeah,
I'm gonna start calling you every day and be like, hey, can you take me to practice? When I have to coach, will you take me to practice?
Oh God, I hate it.
Yeah.
I kind of go to great lengths to avoid it.
Yeah,
actually.
and we're always like, okay, to save us this trip, we're always trying to save trips. And...
Dude, I can get from point A to point B in fewer steps than anyone. When you really don't want to go out, period, and you especially don't want to drive. You'll make your life as efficient as possible.
Well, that goes back to our point. When we were teenagers, just got our license, we would purposely go out of the way.
Mallory makes the most unnecessary trips.
Sure, but I 1,000% did that when I was 16.
Right.
Just because I wanted to be driving.
Now as adults, we want to make the most efficient trip possible.
I'm going to go here first because that'll lead me back in quicker to, it's just efficiency.
And hey, when I get back home, I'm gonna have a beer. I'm in for the night. Anyone else need anything?
Right, yeah, exactly. A store that was holding something for me, I literally had just sat down on my couch for 5 minutes from practice, and they called me. It's like, your thing is in, the decoration. And I was like, I just got home. I go, can I pick it up tomorrow? And they were like, sure. I was not 16-year-old Joe. I'm getting back in that car, and I'm smiling while I'm doing it.
Right.
And I'm rolling the windows down, and I'm jamming on my tape deck.
And before we got our license, how cruel, not to their face, but how badly were we cursing mom and dad for being late for picking us up from practice?
Dad was horrible.
Or late getting us there.
Dad was horrible. I had to run some practice because Dad got me there late.
Same.
I was 7th grade. I'm like, I can't drive myself here.
Okay. And I couldn't help but take I was a little wounded. My little heart couldn't take it. Everybody else's parents are sitting there waiting for practice to be over. My mom and dad barely get me there and barely pick me up.
The coaches had to wait.
The coaches had to wait for the Ledbetters.
And my dad was a coach.
But here's what's funny. I get it.
Right. Exactly. Now I get it.
Mom and dad, I get
get it. Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't want to stop what you're doing. You don't want to get up off the couch. You've just made dinner or you're making dinner. You don't want to stop.
No.
God, I get it, Mom. I get
become,
it, Dad.
It's become quite.
I forgive you.
It's become quite the burden.
It is quite the kerfuffle. It's become a thing. Well, hey, this was nice. These passports and our upcoming adventures that we talked big game about. I never thought it would take me back to those early days of independence, having that license in your hand and feeling like you go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah, thanks for reliving some of that with me. It's just something I thought about.
Fun stuff.
Thought it'd be worth it from a Gen Xer's perspective.
Somehow we made it through.
Here we are.
Thank you so much for listening to another piece of the Gen X experience worth saving. How we went from that thrill of getting our driver's license and gaining our independence to wishing we were like Miss Daisy has now been immortalized in the annals of history. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the Best of Gen X wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Joe, always a pleasure.
Duh.